Good evening, everyone. Tonight we are going to work with our sixth session about frequency adverbs. Sorry, fifth section. And tonight we're going to start. I'm going to turn my camera off so we can work. I'm not the owner, so let's begin. What are frequency adverbs? Frequency adverbs are words that refer to events that talk about how often I perform an action. But do you know what they are? Are they verbs, adverbs, or adjectives? These are occasionally, seldom, often, almost. They are adverbs. Sorry, I forgot. They are adverbs. What is an adverb? An adverb are words that modify a verb. They mean that they give qualities of a verb. So they say how the action is performed. For example, she drove fast. How did she drive? She drove fast. They can change or modify adjectives. Sorry. She drove a very fast car. How fast was her car? Very fast. And they can change another verb. For example, she drove quite slowly. How slowly did she drive? Okay, now what are frequency adverbs? Frequency adverbs are adverbs that state how often something happens or someone does something. For example, Eric often rides a bicycle. Andy goes to school by himself every day. Okay, do you have any idea how often? Now we are going to check a chart of frequency adverbs. The numbers after the adverbs can give you an idea of how often an event would take place. For example, when I perform the action all the time, it's always. When I perform the action most of the time, it's nearly almost always. When I perform the action with certain frequency, it's usually. Then we have very often and frequently. Often, less usual. Sometimes it is 50-50. It means I can do it or I don't. Occasionally, almost never or never. Seldom, I almost don't do that. And never, it's when I don't do that. Then we have examples of frequency adverbs. For example, I always brush my teeth in the morning. Yo siempre cepillo, so it's 100%. She usually drives to work on time. Ella usualmente llega al trabajo a tiempo, most of the time. I visit my grandparents frequently. Yo visito a mis abuelos con frecuencia. My dog often sleeps on my bed with me. Sometimes she eats eggs for breakfast. I go for a walk in the park occasionally. We seldom eat out. My family rarely goes on vacation. I never sleep. He never helps me clean the house. Now, let's test our knowledge of frequency adverbs. For example, Andy is an excellent student. He goes to class. An excellent student always goes to class. Very good. Next one. Eric goes to the gym only 2 or 3 times a year. He goes to the gym. He seldom goes to the gym, porque casi nunca va. Now, next one. Mike goes to the beach whenever he can. He misses the chance to go to the ocean. He never. Very good. Now, where can I place the frequency adverbs? Okay, they are usually placed before the main verb, but when the verb is to be, it should go after. For example, let's see this. This is the subject, this is the verb, this is the complement. I always place the adverb before the main verb. For example, Andy always goes to school by car. The second, as I told you, when the verb is to be, Sam is frequently late. I have to place the verb to be before the adverb. Then I have if I have a sentence with one or two more verbs, I have to place always my adverb before the main verb. This is an auxiliary verb. It goes between the auxiliary verb and the main verb. Okay, when I have and used to, the frequency adverb is placed before. For example, we always used to look forward to eating. I never have any trouble with my old computer. Now, there are frequency adverbs such as sometimes that can be placed before the verb, after verb to be, or at the beginning and at the end of the sentence. As you can see here, sometimes he goes to church, sometimes. Don't forget, there are exceptions. I cannot locate always at the beginning or at the end of the sentence. Never, rarely, and seldom cannot go at the end. They can go at the beginning, not at the end. For example, rarely had the orchestra given a worse performance. Seldom has there been a better time to discuss our differences. That's called inversion. That's for advanced students. Positions of frequency adverbs. When I use adverbs of frequency, in the negative form, I put the adverb before the main verb. For example, I don't often go to the movies. The main verb is go. The auxiliary, the negative auxiliary, don't, and the adverb. Okay? So let's check if you understood. Read the sentence below and decide if the frequency adverb goes before or after the verb. For example, never. In the sentence, I eat green onions. Never goes before or after verb eat. It goes before. Very good. In the sentence, Eric is happy when he plays with his best friend. The word always goes before or after happy. It goes after. Very good. Now, let's move to the practice activities. Let's start with this one. I have to organize this sentence. Let's start with the verb. The subject, sorry, I. This is the main verb. Drink coffee in the morning. Where can I place always? I can place before the main verb. She sometimes prepared lunch for her family. Let's move on to the next sentence. They never lie say. They never say lies. And then, I'm sorry, I forgot that one. We are tired of quarantine. That's because we were not having fun with the pandemic. Now this one, I never smoke because it is bad for health. Okay, that's it. We finished the first exercise. Let's move on to the second exercise. Let's see. Let's listen. Let's check the answers. Our answers are all right. Now let's move to the third activity so we can have a place to finish and get some rest, especially me. For example, how often do you forget to do your homework? Can you tell us or think about it? How often do you chew gum? In my case, I never chew gum. I think it's bad for my teeth. How often do you go out with friends? I sometimes go out with my friends. How often do you eat garlic? I always eat garlic with my meals because I consider it is very good for my health. Now, how often do you visit your relatives? I sometimes visit my relatives, especially on holidays. How often do you take showers? I take showers every morning, every day. So I always take showers. How often do you ride a horse? I have never ridden a horse. Never. That's something new for me. How often do you go to bed late? I almost always go to bed late. Frequently. Very often. How often do you wear these clothes? I never. I always wash my clothes. How often do you eat chicken? I eat chicken twice a week, so I usually eat chicken. How often do you eat fast food? I eat fast food about once or twice a month, so I almost never often do you go out to eat? I go out to eat every week, so I usually go to eat. How often do you watch films? I never watch films. I think it's something I don't like to do. How often do you hang out with friends? I think that once or twice per month, so not often, not very often. How often do you cook? I cook every day, so I always cook. I love it, but sometimes it's exhausting. How often do you clean your room? I always clean my room. I clean my room every day. I think you do because you are in the army, like the police office district, so you have to. How often you cry in front of everybody? Sometimes I do. I don't care. How often do you sort the net? I think that every day. As teacher, I have to. How often do you sleep with your teddy bear? I never do it, but my daughter does. She has a puppet called Titi, and she sleeps with her puppet every night. How often do you ride your bike? I never ride bikes, and I should. How often do you drop litter in the classroom? I never do it. I always pick my litter and put it in the rubbish can. How often do you smell your socks? I never do it. Sometimes I think that sometimes I do it when I think that they're dirty. That I'm not sure they're dirty. How often do you forget to brush your hair? I never do it. My hair is a mess, but I never forget to brush my hair. Comb my hair, in fact. How often do you eat a lot of sugar? When I have cakes. And finally, how often do you kiss your pet? Almost every day. I love my pet. Okay. I think that's all for today. Remember that we have to finish our third activity because we are facing the end of this course. And what is the activity about? We have to talk about product or some products. For example, I can go to store, or I can guess or suppose that I'm in front of the store, and I can talk about the price or prices of some products, and I have to give my opinion on the products. For example, I am going to talk about a camera, and I think the camera is expensive because it costs about $1 million and things like that. Okay, as I haven't got any public, I think that I deserve to rest a little. So that's all for today. Have a nice night and see you next time. We are gonna meet next Monday, which is our last session. Have a nice night.